I inherited my aunt's house after her mysterious disappearance. The first night, I found a letter on my pillow in shaky handwriting, "Don't let her in." At 3 a.m., a soft knock came at the bedroom door. "Sweetheart," my aunt's voice whispered. "I'm home." But the doorknob was turning on its own, and my aunt had been declared dead 10 years ago. I never expected to inherit anything from my Aunt Margaret. She had vanished without a trace 10 years ago in the small town of Ashford, Oregon. The police conducted extensive searches, but no leads ever surfaced. Eventually, she was declared legally dead. Last month, I received a call from a lawyer. Aunt Margaret's house had been in probate for years, and with no other living relatives, I was the sole heir. I was skeptical. I hadn't been close to her, and the idea of inheriting a house from someone who disappeared under mysterious circumstances was unsettling. Still, I decided to visit the property. The house was a two-story Victorian, nestled at the edge of a dense forest. It looked like it hadn't been touched in years. The paint was peeling, the windows were dusty, and the garden was overgrown. Yet, there was a certain charm to it. I thought, maybe I could fix it up and sell it. The first night I arrived at the house in the late afternoon. The air was thick with the scent of moss and decay. Inside, the house was surprisingly intact. The furniture was covered in white sheets, and dust coated every surface. I spent the evening exploring, uncovering old photographs and trinkets that hinted at Aunt Margaret's life. As night fell, I decided to sleep in the master bedroom. I cleaned the sheets as best as I could and settled in. Around midnight, I woke up to a strange sensation. It felt like someone was watching me. I turned on the bedside lamp and noticed a piece of paper on my pillow. It read, "Don't let her in." The handwriting was shaky, almost frantic. I was certain it hadn't been there when I went to sleep. My heart pounded as I scanned the room, but nothing seemed out of place. I tried to rationalize it, maybe it was a prank, or perhaps I had overlooked it earlier. Still, unease settled over me. The knock at 3 a.m., I was jolted awake by a soft knock at the bedroom door. "Sweetheart," a voice whispered. "I'm home." It was Aunt Margaret's voice. I froze. The doorknob began to turn slowly, as if someone was trying to enter. I leaped out of bed and pressed my back against the door, holding it shut. "Let me in, dear," the voice cooed. "No," I shouted. "You're not real." The doorknob stopped turning. Silence followed. I waited, heart racing, but there was nothing more. Eventually, I mustered the courage to open the door. The hallway was empty. I checked the entire house, but found no one. The investigation the next morning, I contacted the local police and reported the incident. An officer came by, took my statement, and searched the house. He found no signs of forced entry. He suggested it might have been a dream or stress-induced hallucination. Determined to find answers, I visited the town's library and dug into old newspapers. I discovered that Aunt Margaret had been involved in local folklore. Some believed she was a witch, others claimed she had vanished into the forest to join a cult. There were reports of people hearing her voice in the woods, even after her disappearance. I also found a journal belonging to her, stored in the library's archives. In it, she wrote about a presence in the house, something she referred to as the other. She warned that it could mimic voices and appearances, and that it sought to be invited in. The return that night, I decided to confront whatever was happening. I set up cameras around the house and stayed awake, waiting. At 3 a.m., the knocking returned. This time, it was louder, more insistent. "Sweetheart," the voice called. "Please, let me in." I remained silent. The door rattled violently, but I didn't move. Eventually, the noise ceased. I reviewed the camera footage the next day. To my horror, the cameras had gone static at exactly 3 a.m., resuming only at 3:15 a.m. The decision I couldn't stay in the house any longer. I packed my belongings and left, vowing never to return. I contacted the lawyer and arranged to sell the property. I didn't care about the money, I just wanted to be free of whatever haunted that place. Even now, I sometimes hear Aunt Margaret's voice in my dreams, calling out to me, asking to be let in. I never answer. Back to Ashford 3 weeks after I left the house, I got a call from the realtor I'd hired. Her voice shook as she spoke. "Mr. Darnell," she said, I can't list the house." I asked why. "There's something wrong with it. I went to take pictures yesterday. I swear I locked the front door behind me, but when I came out, it was wide open. And there was a woman standing in the hallway. Pale. Hair like straw. She just vanished. I didn't say anything for a moment. Then I asked the question I didn't want to ask, did she say anything?" The realtor paused. "Yeah. She said, 'Sweetheart, I'm home.' I booked a flight back to Ashford that night. The locked room when I arrived, the house looked worse than before. Like it had aged 20 years in a month. Paint flaking. Shutters dangling. The garden, once overgrown, now looked like it had been clawed at, like something had tried to dig its way in. Or out. I walked room by room, hoping to find proof that I hadn't lost my mind. Then I remembered something, the attic. Aunt Margaret used to keep it locked. No one ever went up there, not even during holidays. The key was still hanging behind the kitchen door. I took it, climbed the narrow steps, and unlocked the attic. Inside was a single rocking chair, a broken mirror, and a box labeled "Sweetheart." My stomach turned. Inside the box were cassette tapes. Old, dusty, labeled in Margaret's shaky handwriting. Voice experiments. 1984, Do Not Play Alone. I grabbed a small battery-operated player from the storage closet and played the first tape. Margaret's voice, calm but tired, filled the attic. Day 41. The voice comes through clearer each night. I have stopped answering. It calls me "sweetheart" now. It mimics my dead sister's tone. I fear, it's learning me. Then silence. Then, "Sweetheart." But it wasn't Margaret. It was me. My voice. Clear. Calm. Saying that single word. I stopped the tape and nearly dropped the player. The other you that night, I stayed in a hotel outside town. I couldn't go back in that house. But something followed me. In the mirror of the hotel bathroom, I saw myself smiling, when I wasn't. I started filming myself while I slept. At 3 a.m., my body rose from the bed. My eyes were open, but I wasn't awake. I stared into the camera and said, "She's almost in." The next morning, I watched the footage on loop. The voice didn't sound like mine, not really. It was close, but just slightly off. Like someone impersonating me, or something trying to wear my voice like a mask. I remembered Aunt Margaret's journal. It seeks to be invited in. What if it didn't need to pretend anymore? What if it could become? The mirror ritual. I returned to the library. Deep in the restricted archives, hidden behind local legends and folklore, I found a book. Old. Bound in leather. No author. Just a symbol carved into the front, an eye. Inside, I read about mirror rituals. One in particular chilled me to the bone. It warned that if a spirit learns your voice and name, it can enter if you speak to it through a mirror. A kind of invitation. I'd played the tape. It had heard me. The book offered one possible way to stop it. But it came at a cost. You had to seal the mirror with blood and bury it where the voice first spoke. If not, the other would take shape and walk freely in the world, wearing your face. In my skin I tried burning the tape. It didn't catch fire. I smashed the player. Didn't help. At 3 a.m. that night, someone knocked on my hotel room door. "Sweetheart, my own voice said. I'm home. I opened the door. No one was there. But when I turned back inside, the lights were off, the air was cold, and my reflection in the mirror was grinning. It whispered, "Don't fight it. You're already mine." I threw the mirror to the floor. It shattered. But my reflection stayed, broken pieces still holding the twisted smile. Digging deeper, I needed help. I drove to Salem, met with a woman who used to work in folklore research at Oregon State. Her name was Rosa. When I told her everything, she didn't laugh. She listened. "You've got a mimic," she said. "A voice thief. It doesn't just want to speak like you. It wants to be you." I asked her if I could stop it. "If it's still copying, you have time. But if it's already got your voice and your name, then it's only a matter of time before you're locked out." Locked out? Your body. Your life. You'll still be conscious. But it will wear your skin. Blood mirror. That night, I returned to the house one last time. I brought a mirror, a knife, and the last cassette tape. I played it. My voice. My fears. My panic. "I'm home," the voice said. I cut my palm and smeared the mirror. The blood hissed against the glass. The voice screamed. The house shook. I buried the mirror under the floorboards in the attic, just beneath where the rocking chair sat. As I did, I felt something pulling, like it didn't want to leave. Like it was still tethered to me. And then silence. "She's still here." I left Ashford for good. Moved to Arizona. Changed my number. Quit my job. Started fresh. But sometimes, I still get calls at 3 a.m. Unknown number. Silence on the other end. And then, my own voice, "Sweetheart. I'm home." Months passed. Life in Arizona was dry, hot, and blissfully uneventful, until I got a letter in the mail. No return address. The handwriting on the envelope looked old, shaky. Inside was a black and white photograph. It was the house in Ashford, but older. Way older. There were horse-drawn carriages on the street. In front of the house stood a woman. She looked just like Aunt Margaret. But the photo was dated 1912. I flipped it over. One sentence written in faded ink: "She never owned the house." What did that mean? The census twist. I called Rosa, the folklore researcher. She dug into public records. "You're not gonna like this," she said. Aunt Margaret didn't own the house. She'd never owned it. The house had been condemned in 1947, declared unfit for living after a series of disappearances. Margaret had moved into the house in the late 80s, illegally. She squatted there. Lived off the grid. That's why she had no digital footprint. That's why the deed couldn't be found until probate cleared her disappearance. Here's the kicker. Every person who had lived in that house since 1912 had either disappeared, or changed. I found myself after that. I kept to myself. Paranoid. Watchful. Then one night, I saw someone at the grocery store who looked familiar. Same build, same walk. They turned. Our eyes met. It was me. Same face. Same scar on my chin from childhood. But colder. Sharper. Like a wax figure made human. He didn't flinch. Just gave a small nod. Then walked away. I chased him through the parking lot. Gone. The next day, my credit card was declined. My bank account was emptied. My boss said I'd already quit, in person. The replacement theory. I called Rosa again. She told me something she hadn't shared before. They're called skin voices, she said. They don't just mimic. They replace. One moment, you're you. The next, they're walking around with your smile. She warned me. If I saw myself again, I couldn't look directly into its eyes. They pull memory. Like a file transfer. She asked if I still had the buried mirror. I didn't answer right away. The truth? I had nightmares about it every night. Something clawing up from the attic floor, dragging glass shards behind it. My friend got pulled and my childhood friend Max came to visit out of the blue. He'd seen my name on a missing persons alert online. Problem was, I hadn't gone missing. But someone had filed a report. From Ashford. Max didn't believe in any of this crap. He thought I was going through a breakdown. I begged him not to go near the house. He went anyway. That night, he called me. Whispering. Breathless. There's someone upstairs, he said. They look like you. Same clothes. Same voice. But, it's not you. I told him to run. He didn't make it to the car. The next day, police found his phone, screen shattered, soaked in blood. Aunt Margaret's real secret. I went back to Ashford one last time. Rosa came with me. We were ready. We broke into the basement. Behind a false wall, we found another room, lined with mirrors. Dozens of them. All cracked. All smeared with something that had turned black with age. In the middle of the room sat a journal. Not Margaret's. Dated 1910. It told the story of the original woman in the photo, Annabelle Crow. She claimed the house was a mouth that needed feeding. Every 10 years, it took someone. But if you fed it willingly, it let you live longer. Look younger. Rosa flipped through the pages. Her face drained of color. There's a ritual in here, she said. To trap a skin voice. But someone has to stay behind. The house needs a voice to mimic, or it will go out and find one. Aunt Margaret didn't disappear. She volunteered. She stayed behind. Mirror mouth. We gathered everything. We planned to seal the house, permanently. But as we began the ritual, the house spoke. Not through the walls. Through the mirrors. Each shard reflected someone different, Max, Margaret, me. Sweetheart, they whispered in chorus. You came home. The walls pulsed. The floor cracked. Rosa shouted for me to finish the chant. But one mirror wasn't like the others. It didn't reflect anyone. It was just a black void. Something stepped out of it. It had my face. And Rosa's voice. Rosa screamed. The thing with her voice stepped toward me. It smiled with my face. I held the journal tight and shouted the final words of the ritual. The creature paused. Flickered. Its shape glitched like a broken screen. But it didn't vanish. It laughed. You waited too long, it said. We're already out. The mirrors around the room shattered at once. The noise was like thunder. Glass rained down, cutting into my arms and face. Rosa grabbed my hand. We need to leave. Now. We ran. The house twisted behind us, like it was alive, walls moving, doors vanishing. But somehow, we got outside. The house didn't burn. We tried. Poured gasoline, lit matches. Nothing. It just stood there. Watching. Part 23, The Voice in the World. Back in Arizona, things got worse. More sightings of me. Old coworkers claimed I'd visited them. My bank reopened. My name popped up on new rental agreements. Someone out there was living as me. Rosa called one night in tears. It used my daughter's voice today, she said. Tried to get me to open the door. We realized the ritual had only slowed it down. It didn't need the house anymore. It had enough voices now. Part 24, One final plan. We found a second ritual buried in the back pages of the journal. One not for banishment, but for containment. It required a mirror, fresh blood, and someone willing to trap the creature in a reflection loop, a sealed room of infinite mirrors. The trick? You had to trick it into looking at itself. I offered to do it. I had the face it wanted. I knew how to bait it. Part 25, the final room. We rented an old theater basement with mirrored walls. Like a dance studio. Rosa stayed outside with a camera feed. I stood in the center with the old journal and a knife. At 3 a.m., the lights flickered. The temperature dropped. I heard it behind me. "Sweetheart," it whispered. I turned slowly. It had my face. My voice. My smirk. But it didn't know one thing. I had rigged a mirrored floor under a sheet. I said, "Look at yourself." And it did. Its face dropped. It started screaming. I dropped the mirror from the journal onto the floor and sliced my palm, smearing the blood across its surface. The mirrors lit up. The creature twisted. Its body contorted like it was being sucked into its own reflection. One last whisper, "You needed me," then, gone. The mirrors cracked. The light came back. Part 26, the real ending. Rosa ran in and hugged me. We thought it was over. I moved back to a quiet life. I changed my name. Got a job in a bookstore. But sometimes, at 3 a.m., I hear it. From inside mirrors. From phone screens. From TV screens that flicker on by themselves. Sometimes, it's not even my voice anymore. Sometimes, it's Rosa's. Sometimes, it's Max's. Sometimes, it's yours. It doesn't need a house. It just needs a reflection. So if you ever hear a voice that sounds like yours, calling from behind a mirror, don't answer. Don't let it in. Ever.